Yeah, so fundamental analysis means relatively little to me, and I'll tell you why is that.
Let's talk about, though, how, again, you balance technical analysis with other factors, because technical analysis, you're looking at lines, you're looking at patterns, you're looking at the charts. Several investors say that's nonsense, and they analyze stocks based on their fundamentals, like revenue, like valuation, like industry trends. How do you balance technical analysis with fundamental analysis in your trading?
Yeah, so fundamental analysis means relatively little to me, and I'll tell you why is that when you get into fundamental analysis, in bull markets, PE ratios get way extended. In bear markets, they retract immensely, right? They get very, very low. So the question is, well, what's the real value here? And it all comes down to investor sentiment. And so if investor sentiment is bullish, if the Fed's printing money, guess what? Valuations are going to go up more than they should. If investor sentiment is negative, if people are fearful, it's going to get driven down. So for me, it means very little. It's all it is wherever the PE ratios are. Yeah, you can look historically at something, but you also need to look more in depth. I found stocks that historically are trading at a really low PE ratio, and then you look deeper underneath the hood, and you're like, well, they're projecting that they're going to only make half the amount of revenue and earnings that they did in the last couple years. Remember, you want to look forward, not back when it comes to fundamental analysis. Now, having said that, I do look at macro data. Macro data gives me a longer view, even though the technicals give me the short-term moves. So when I'm swing trading, technicals are everything. Where's the support level? Where do I buy? Where do I exit that trade? But I also want to keep an eye on the bigger picture. And the bigger picture keeps you from getting caught up in black swan events, major issues out there, like whether it's China and Taiwan or Russia and Ukraine, or even the Federal Reserve. You want to be aware when these bigger macro data points are coming up. So again, think about it like this. I'm driving my car and I'm looking at the road right in front of me. That's day trading, that's swing trading based on technicals, but I'm also keeping my eye down the road to see when that next speed bump is coming up. That would be the bigger macro picture.
Right. Okay. So if it's largely driven by sentiment, obviously the macro picture is going to impact sentiment, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And you want to just be aware. Like, I like positioning myself for the bigger moves sometimes while also doing trades in the shorter time frame. And I just think, again, as an investor, you don't want to be caught off guard, right? You don't want to be saying, okay, here I'm going long at all these supports, but wait a minute, the banking crisis is hitting, and you don't want to necessarily ignore that. For me, it would be a situation where, okay, the banking crisis is occurring. I'm looking to buy these banks at support, but I understand this crisis is going on, so let me reduce the amount of money I'm putting in. So I may still buy bank stocks in crisis, but I might go much, much lighter because I see the macro picture.
Okay, well, look, to your point, there are lots of cases where price is divorced from fundamentals. We had like that meme stock phenomenon. You have companies with ridiculous price to earning ratios, and sentiment is the driving force here. But back to the idea of technical analysis, many people would say that this pattern reading, well, you've made it like that it's akin to astrology, which you say does have credibility. And granted, there are a lot of people that would agree with that. But many people would say that technical analysis is like reading tea leaves, and they dismiss it as not credible. What do you say to that?
I mean, my personal response is to look at my history of trading. And again, I trade on technicals purely. I trade on this kind of stuff on an everyday basis, whether I'm day trading or swing trading. I ultimately have a track record that goes back literally 16 years of giving investors trade signals that they've followed and have made millions of dollars off of. And it's just the beauty of it, right? I mean, I'd much rather, if I could go back and redo it, I would never pay attention to fundamentals. Fundamentals mean zero. Think about in a bear market or a bull market. Think about crypto, what's going on there. Think about even stocks and the valuations that we saw on Tesla back in 2021. Fundamentals meant nothing for why Tesla was up there. But if you saw a topping tail, I would guarantee that would play out in the chart of Tesla, and it did overall, bringing that stock way, way down.